Hey, dropout. If you can answer this question in 30 minutes, I'll give you a $100,000 bonus. But if you can't, you are fired. These were the words of my boss, the department head Alex, during a mandatory training session that all employees at the headquarters had to attend. Naturally, a buzz spread throughout the large conference room that had become the venue for the training. Especially since many employees were already questioning the bizarre training that involved solving prestigious university entrance exam questions. Suddenly presenting me alone with a difficult question, Alex had already made a bad impression. And by saying he'd give an impossible $100,000 bonus, it was clear to everyone that it was nothing but harassment. Other department heads rushed to stop him, but Alex seemed unfazed. He said it was no problem since I wouldn't be able to solve it anyway. But what the other department heads failed to see was that this wasn't the real issue. The company owns a conference room large enough to accommodate around 200 employees in the headquarters. It's a well-known major corporation in its own right. There's no way it wouldn't emphasize compliance. Alex seemed oblivious to this issue. Frustrated and venting my built-up stress, I sighed heavily and began to tackle the problem confidently. Little did I know how this incident would change both mine and Alex's careers. My name is Ryan. I turned 30 this year, but I've changed jobs more than 5 times, never sticking to one for long. Whether due to being deemed incompetent or not getting along with others, I've ended up resigning from every job. Now, I'm at my 6th company, and it's been half a year. It's one of the longer stints I've had, and I wish to stay peacefully for a longer duration, but I had a premonition that it wouldn't last long. The reason lies in the fact that I haven't been getting along with Alex from the international sales department where I work. Despite believing I'm better suited for less interactive roles, I often find myself in flashy departments like international business, which troubles me. Alex, proud of his prestigious university degree, harbored a prejudice that those without college degrees were lazy failures. However, this was only towards men, as he demeaned academically accomplished women by saying, "A woman's high education only makes her less attractive." I particularly disliked Alex. Having a mindset filled with prejudices is one reason, but there are many other reasons why I find it difficult to deal with. Even past 50 and unmarried, he boasted about his popularity with women and often made inappropriate comments to female colleagues. In an era where compliance is crucial, he carelessly made crude jokes, making female employees uncomfortable. He looked down on male employees without college degrees, taking credit for their work or blaming them for his mistakes. Taking credit for someone else's work, especially when looking down on them, shows a complete lack of pride. Alex, who despises me the most in the department, often makes snide remarks, saying, "How did a middle school dropout get assigned to such a prestigious department using underhanded methods? I don't understand why he mistakes me for a middle school dropout, but more than that, I detest being thought of as someone who used dirty tricks to get here. I would have preferred to work in a supportive role like accounting or administration rather than a high-profile department like international business. But we can always be placed in the department of our choice, so we have to do our best in the department we're assigned to, right?" To Alex's dissatisfaction, he assigned me menial tasks like copying and data entry. I didn't mind the work itself, as I preferred tasks that allowed me to work quietly on my own. However, his attempts to sabotage my work, like spilling coffee on documents or kicking my chair during data entry, were intolerable. Thankfully, my colleagues were aware and supportive. They even appreciated my ability to work accurately despite the interruptions. Emily, a colleague of the same age, seemed to trust me greatly, often coming to me for advice on work matters. Alex seemed displeased by that as well. Emily is the only highly educated female employee whom Alex doesn't belittle with his comments. The reason is that Alex favors her, but Emily pays him no mind. In fact, it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say she dislikes him, While no one in the department is fond of Alex, Emily probably dislikes him the most. It's only natural to feel aversion towards a man 20 years your senior making unwanted advances. Emily is not just beautiful within our department, but is considered one of the most attractive women in the entire company. Rumors have it that she was scouted numerous times during her student years. Though I haven't heard it from her directly, and it remains a rumor, her beauty makes it easy to believe such claims. Emily's consulting with me, whom Alex looks down upon as a middle school dropout, fuels his jealousy, leading to even more harassment. In front of the female employees, he ridicules me for being a low-educated dropout and blames me for mistakes that aren't my fault, desperately trying to lower my evaluation. However, no one takes Alex's words seriously since he's disliked by everyone in the department, which only serves to lower his own reputation further. My colleagues say I should talk back, but I see no point in responding to Alex's nonsense that nobody believes. Thinking that talking back would only lead to more trouble, I chose to ignore it, which turned out to be a mistake. The harassment escalated, and eventually, Alex crossed the line. This incident occurred during a company-wide employee training that was said to involve all staff in the headquarters. This all-company training happens once a year, with each department head taking turns being in charge. The responsible department head decides on the training content, supposedly to enhance the employees' skills. This year, Alex, who was in charge, decided to use prestigious university entrance exam questions as a training content. Even if you've graduated from college, it's understandable that many are puzzled because not many can solve the entrance exam questions of prestigious university, which has the highest standard deviation score in America. Doing something like a test doesn't seem to enhance employee skills. When other department heads voiced their concerns, Alex replied, "No matter the age, studying is important. We mustn't forget the importance of effort. If the purpose is to cultivate the ability to make an effort, testing seems pointless. Tests are meant to assess results, especially entrance exams, which are designed to measure abilities." The training seems tailored for Alex to feel superior to those he deems less academically capable. Fortunately, the training's outcome doesn't affect evaluations, so failing to solve the problems isn't an issue. Some employees nostalgically engaged with the questions, but most quickly gave up, seeing no point in attempting them. Achieving a perfect score would bring no recognition, so it's understandable that many lost the motivation to try. If this were a college entrance or job examination, everyone would undoubtedly strive to solve the problems, even without clear understanding. However, for a training meant to improve skills, the lack of practical benefits makes the entire exercise feel like a waste of time. Alex, seeing employees giving up on the problems, taunted them, "Look, you're forgetting the importance of effort." Knowing they'd be mocked, the International Business Department employees pretended to work on the problems, yet Alex still taunted, "Can idiots who can't even solve this handle international business work?" It seems he just wants to look down on others and make snide remarks. Alex, who was patrolling around the desks like an exam proctor, stopped in front of me and handed me a piece of paper. The document contained a lengthy passage in French, leaving me puzzled about what was expected of me, so I looked up at Alex for guidance. Then, with a smug grin, he said, "If you can answer this in 30 minutes, I'll give you a $100,000 bonus, but if you can't, you are fired." A murmur spread through the large conference room, which had become the training venue. It was appalling that he would say such a thing during a company-wide training involving all headquarters employees. Other department heads rushed to stop him, but Alex seemed indifferent. Releasing the stress that had accumulated over time, I let out a heavy sigh and looked over the paper handed to me by Alex. Within 5 minutes, I responded to the question. The task was to translate a long French text, which contained words that were difficult to express in English or unknown to me. The unfamiliar words were likely intentionally incorrect neologisms. In preschools within French-speaking regions, a method commonly employed is phonics, which is used to recognize the rules of pronunciation and spelling in French. Familiar with French phonics, I was able to translate without being stumped by the unknown words. Alex, comparing my translation to the model answer, trembled in shock. "When will the bonus be deposited?" I asked with a pleasant smile, inquiring about the $100,000 bonus. Of course, I didn't seriously expect such a bonus to be paid. However, I couldn't forgive Alex for using the company training as an opportunity to harass me, just because I tend to be quiet. A little harassment directed at me was one thing, but I couldn't overlook Alex using valuable training time meant for skill improvement just to indulge in his sense of superiority. I'm not the type who's particularly driven by a sense of justice. Normally, I prefer to spend my time peacefully, but it seems I had reached my limit with all the harassment up to now. Without realizing it, I had accumulated a lot of stress. "How can a dropout like you solve a problem that I couldn't?" Alex revealed his own failure to solve the problem and yelled, unable to accept that I had solved it. "Dropout. I graduated from Oxford University, you know. I had been insulted as a dropout many times before, but I am not a dropout." I had always wondered why such a misunderstanding had occurred. It seems Alex, having seen my resume, initially judged me based on my numerous job changes and labeled me as a troublemaker. However, the companies listed in my employment history are all well-known firms. Alex must have wondered what kind of educational background someone who doesn't stick with jobs yet works at famous companies each time would have. So, when he checked the education section, it only listed up to middle school. Indeed, the education section only goes up to middle school. Because the school I graduated from isn't in the United States, so in the United States, I'm considered a middle school graduate. Instead, in the self-promotion section, I noted that I had moved to the UK from high school and spent my time there through college. Alex must have misunderstood me as a dropout by only looking at the education section. When I explained this, Alex, unable to use education to assert dominance, complained, "Even so, you're someone who can't endure and quits companies quickly." Indeed, I have changed jobs 5 times in the 7 years since returning to my home country. There were reasons for that. The first time, I resigned because my discussions were deemed too complex and bothersome by others. I didn't think I was talking about anything particularly difficult, but if I couldn't be understood, there was no helping it. The second time, I faced harassment after being accused of getting cocky because of my good performance. If it was just harassment directed at me, I might have endured, but once it started affecting our clients, I had to resign. Being accused of showing off for working hard and being called incompetent for not doing enough led to my 5 job changes. That's why I wanted a job that didn't involve much interaction with people. The copying and data entry tasks that Alex had been harassing me with were actually the kind of work I thought suited me. I had even hoped to spend my entire workday doing nothing but copying and data entry. If Alex hadn't tried to set me up in front of everyone, I would have been content with quietly doing my copying and data entry tasks. "What's all this noise? Did something happen?" President Johnson, noticing the commotion in the conference room where the training was supposed to be happening, appeared with some executives. The roughly 200 employees went silent as President Johnson showed up. Seemingly puzzled by the sudden quiet after the previous noise, President Johnson asked Alex, the person in charge of the training, what had happened. However, Alex's explanation was a jumbled mess that made no sense. Then, President Johnson turned to Emily, who was nearby and likely knew the situation, for an explanation. Emily thoroughly explained everything from the content of the training to what Alex had tried to do to me, and how I easily solved the difficult problem, concluding, "A person like Alex, who looks down on and harasses employees, is not fit to be a department head." Even though Emily was a favorite of his, Alex, unable to take the critique of not being fit for his position, retorted to President Johnson, "You wouldn't believe the words of a woman whose all looks right. Are you saying my daughter is just a pretty face?" President Johnson's expression turned to one of anger. "Daughter." Everyone was shocked. The surprised expressions on the faces of all the International Business Department employees made it clear that no one had known. Alex's face turned pale. Emily, sighing, complained to President Johnson for revealing that she was his daughter. With the situation in chaos, the training couldn't possibly continue. President Johnson ordered Alex to stay at home and told Emily to order some delivery. The training, originally about prestigious university entrance exam questions, turned into a social gathering for improving communication, as commanded by President Johnson. At the start of the social gathering, I found myself bombarded with questions. Why had I kept my Oxford University graduation a secret? Why hadn't I utilized my French skills? Most questions were along these lines, but some people also asked for explanations about phonics in the curriculum at Oxford University. I tried to explain as simply and clearly as possible. As I did, even those who were just listening in seemed to become interested and started asking various questions, to which I responded diligently. Then, Emily suggested, "You might be suited for teaching, you know." Knowing now that she was the president's daughter, the employees quickly made space around us, giving Emily an easier environment to talk in. She mentioned she had wanted to work as a regular employee because she disliked this kind of attention. "I never imagined it would be revealed like this," she said with a wry smile, then asked why I had switched jobs so often. I shared the reasons behind my frequent job changes. "You don't seem like the type to change jobs just because of that. I'm good at meticulous tasks, and, though it might be odd to say about oneself, I consider myself diligent. It seems strange to others that I would resign just because I didn't get along well with others." Indeed, it might not have been just because of poor interpersonal relationships that I resigned. I was suffering from depression, I said with a wry smile, and Emily apologized, thinking she had asked something inappropriate. The foreign high school I attended didn't rank students by grades, nor did it award achievements in sports or arts. The environment was thoroughly non-competitive, placing a strong emphasis on diversity. It was a culture of acknowledging and respecting each other's differences and striving to improve together. Perhaps due to this influence, I grew up to be an adult who's very uncomfortable with competition. I tried to share my methods and knowledge with my colleagues, but that made me seem like a troublesome know-it-all. Gradually, this took a toll on my mental health, and I ended up resigning from my last 2 jobs within 6 months. That's when I realized I was suffering from depression, and now I'm able to work thanks to medication and counseling. Emily was concerned that Alex's harassment might have worsened my condition, but my issue was solely with competitive environments. Living abroad, it's not uncommon to encounter racial discrimination and derogatory remarks. Thanks to that, I've become accustomed to ignoring such sarcasm and mild harassment. Alex's behavior fell within the range of what I could ignore, so it wasn't a problem for me. In fact, my doctor mentioned that I might soon be able to stop taking medication as my depression was nearly in remission. Emily flashed a relieved smile, but then she left with a meaningful grin. Later on, a personnel announcement revealed that Alex, who had been suspended, was demoted and transferred. I was also ordered to transfer from the International Business Department to the HR department. Despite saying I wasn't good at interpersonal relations, I was moved to HR. Though I was unhappy, Emily assured me it would be fine, so I somewhat accepted it. Emily was transferred to the secretarial department, preparing to become the next president. Years later, I was promoted to department head. It turned out I had a knack for personnel training, and the employees I trained performed well in every department. After the incident with Alex, the company overhauled its training program, with the HR department taking charge. I was unexpectedly put in charge of employee training, and it turned out to be quite popular. I was worried that my training, being someone who dislikes social interactions, would be worse than the one that used prestigious university entrance exam questions. However, one day, when I introduced phonics, which many employees were interested in, their foreign language skills significantly improved. Lately, due to employee preferences, the focus on foreign language skills and training programs has become a significant concern. But Emily is thrilled that improved foreign language skills could enhance the company's profits. I know this because Emily and I recently started dating. She confessed to me after I was recognized for my achievements in personnel development and promoted to department head. Apparently, she had harbored feelings for me since our days in the international business department. When I questioned what she saw in a quiet, slightly chubby guy like me, she said my humble demeanor despite my competence was what she admired the most. Though I had my own self-assessment, others seemed to view me as modest. Thanks to Emily's plans for my physical improvement, I've also gotten in better shape, making everything even better. While I was enjoying my happiness, I learned of rumors that I was being considered for the next president of the company. Believing that Emily was destined to be the next president, I asked her if the rumors were true. Emily said nothing had been decided yet. However, the current president seemingly favors me, evidenced by casual conversations about my potential role as president. Emily also expressed doubts about her suitability for the presidency. After all, if I became president, I might end up encouraging competition among employees, right? I too would prefer to avoid creating a competitive environment. Yet the idea of me becoming president was daunting. Seeing my apprehensive expression, Emily laughed and said, "If we could just combine our strengths, we'd be perfect for the role." I couldn't help but laugh along, wishing such a solution were possible. I can't be as outspoken or as decisive as Emily. Even if I were to be appointed as the next president, I resolved to become more assertive to avoid letting the president or Emily down. I might not be able to achieve much on my own, but I have people around me willing to help. For the sake of those kind individuals, I want to ensure I don't let them down. Step by step, I aim not to forget to make an effort to clear each problem that arises.